everybody, it's Ben and Beta, and today I want to talk to you about the portable power generation setup that I replaced my EcoFlow system with. So you may remember that I had an EcoFlow River 2 Max that I liked a lot, and I paired that with an EcoFlow 160 watt solar panel. And I use that system every single day, basically, since I bought it. My original intention was to be able to use it for overlanding, but as we did our truck build out, one of the things that became evident was we needed something to be able to just leave it in the back of the truck. It needed to be dustproof and waterproof. And the EcoFlow system wasn't either one of those things, and they actually don't really offer that product at the moment. So while I really like the EcoFlow system, we needed to look elsewhere if we were going to build out our battery system. I had considered keeping the EcoFlow system, but I didn't really need two systems at this point in my life. So instead, I started looking for the right system for our needs. I looked at the Segway Cube system. So if you're not familiar with that system, the Segway Cube 1000, 2000 system is expandable. You kind of attach everything together, and it looked like it was going to be a pretty good value, but it turns out only the battery module is actually IP rated. The system that has the AC power and all the smarts in it was not, so it wasn't going to work for us. There are a couple other companies that offer these types of batteries, but I kept looking around for the right size for us, something that was expandable if we really needed it to be, and something that was going to be from a reputable company with a really good warranty. And that's how I came to the Bluetti system. Now they have a couple of different ones that have these IP ratings. They just released something called the AC240, and that's a pretty big battery. That's like a 1500 watt battery, and it is expandable to much bigger if you needed it. It was intriguing, but it was a little bit expensive, a little bit heavy for a single battery, and it was just a little bit more than we really needed for our overland setup. The other system they have for that is the AC60 and the B80 battery. There's a number of these different batteries, by the way. There's like the B300 and several other ones that do have IP ratings. But again, I didn't need much more than 1200 watts of power for even a multi-day trip. That was going to be plenty for us because we can solar charge or charge off the vehicle as well. Originally, I had considered only doing a B80 battery, and there are some advantages to that. The B80 is an 800 watt system. It has no AC charging or really any smarts. It doesn't connect to an app or anything like that. It's just a battery, but it does have the ability to charge off solar. You can also get an adapter to be able to charge this via AC, but it does have inputs on it that you can use without having to purchase the AC60 or any other battery for that matter. So it has your 12 volt, and then it has a USB-C and a regular USB-A port. So 3 ports total, which is not much, but for overlanding, if you don't have a bunch of cameras and tons of devices and things like that, this is probably all you really need. So we considered just going with this and getting a solar panel and a connector for it. If you do get a B80, the only cable that comes in the box is this connector cable, which connects these two batteries together. You don't get any way to charge or anything like that. You have to buy that extra from Bluetti or from a third party. So just keep that in mind if you decide to go this route. Then beyond those ports, you have the power button, and then your DC button turns on your DC ports so you can charge things. Pretty simple. Otherwise, it's actually completely sealed. Great part is it can get dusty or wet and you're not gonna have any problems. It also has a really nice handle. It is very well built, it's very sturdy. And if you plug this into a fridge, you might get up to 24 hours of use out of it. It kind of depends. 2 times that I've used this plugged into the fridge overnight, I've still actually had 5 bars in the morning of power left. All right, so overnight, Bluetti still is completely full after powering the fridge at 30 degrees all night long, no problem. Now, because this doesn't have a screen or any smarts, or it doesn't connect directly to an app, you can't tell how much power exactly is left, but you do have these 5 indicators in front which help with that. So this is a viable option for a lot of people, and the fact, again, that you can just leave it in the truck bed and not have to worry about it is really nice. It weighs about 20 pounds, so not too bad. So that's the B80, and we considered going only that route. But in the end, we decided to sell the EcoFlow River 2 Max and the solar panel and go with this Bluetti AC60 and a different solar panel, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right, so what about the AC60? So this does have AC ports. It does connect to the Bluetti app. I think the EcoFlow app is a little bit easier to use, and it works better in Android than the Bluetti app does. I frequently can't connect to this battery on my phone, but we also have an iPad and that connects every time without a problem. So your mileage may vary there. The app itself is fine. It has lots of extra stuff in it that it probably doesn't need, but it does work on iOS every time, and it is fairly well designed. And because we bring our iPad pretty much every time we go camping anyway, just in case it rains and we get stuck in the tent, I just use that and it works fine. So let's talk some more about the specs on the AC60. So it's got a 403 watt hour battery. There is a version called the AC60P, which is about a 500 watt battery. 400 for what we're gonna use it for is fine, especially since I can connect it to this and then I get a total of 1200 watts. Now, some special features on this one. So we'll turn this on really quick. First, I think the screen is really easy to see, easier than the EcoFlow, which I like. You get your input, your output, kind of everything you need, how long the battery's gonna last, and your charge. And it's not very loud. It's much quieter actually than the EcoFlow, which is nice for when I'm taking meetings and still charging things. You have your 12-volt port over here, and then you have a USB-C and then 2 USB-As, so a total of 3 of those. And then you get your 2 AC ports on the front as well. This one also does wireless charging, so you can put your phone on the top, so you can charge quite a few devices all at one time. Then when you hook these two together, you get to use these 2 extra USB ports and the 12-volt port as well. The fact that this is IP65 rated and it has that many ports is still pretty good. Could it have more? Sure. But for about $1,000, which is what you can get this for fairly typically on Amazon or Bluetti's site, you might get an even better deal during Prime days. But I'll have links in the description for all these things. They are affiliate links. If you use those links, it does benefit the channel, but you don't pay any more. It's super appreciated when you do use those links because it does help the channel so I can produce more content for you. By the way, if you found this at all helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Please share this out with anybody who's in the market for any of these types of systems. They might find it helpful too, and I appreciate that. So that was the front and the top. On the back, you have a light, which you can run in a couple of different modes. And that can be handy around the camp if you need it. Then on the left side of the unit, you're gonna have the ability to connect up to 2 of these B80s together. So you can add a total of 1,600 watts to your 400, which gives you 2,000 total if you need it. So that's nice that it's expandable. That was one of the reasons why we chose it. And this cable that connects up connects easy and very securely. And you have about this much cable, so you can stack them pretty easily if you need to, or put them at least a little bit apart, so it's not too bad, but it works good. Then on the other side, you have your DC port and your solar port. There's a fuse, and then you have your AC port for charging via AC. All right, what else comes with the B80? You do get an instruction manual, which is helpful. When I purchased my EcoFlow River 2 Max with the 160 watt solar panel, I actually didn't get any kind of cable to connect the battery to the solar panel. If you're still looking at the EcoFlow, which is a great portable battery system, I think you're gonna get it now, which is good. But the Bluetti system did come with a cable, and this one's probably about 5 feet long, something like that. So it's not too bad. And it does work on both the AC60 and the B80 for plugging into a solar panel. So it works for both, and that's nice. It also came with its own DC cable, which is again about 5 feet long, not too bad. And this one does again work with the B80. While 5 feet's not too bad, I did decide to get a different solar panel cable, and I'll link this in the description as well. This one's about 10 feet long. It works really good, and you can roll it up really nice and small. And I decided to go with one that had multiple ends on it. So this is the one for like Bluetti and a couple others. And then this would have been one I could have used with the EcoFlow. Then some other companies use this, and then there's another adapter here. So basically I can continue using this cable with any company, and that's nice. So that's why I picked this one up. And 10 feet is probably just enough. I kind of would prefer 15, but 10 is not bad. And then when we're overlanding, the B80 is always in the bed of the truck powering the refrigerator, and the AC60 is in the front, and it might be powering things like my GMRS radio or charging up some devices. So I purchased a second cable, and this one's from Helper Labs. Again, right around that 5 foot length, plenty for a cigarette lighter adapter. And this one works really nice. I'll leave a link for that. This feels just like the cable, basically, that came with the Bluetti system itself. So really nice. The other thing I picked up was this Renogy 200 watt solar panel. This is also IP65 rated, and I like this a lot. I like this quite a bit better than the one I had from EcoFlow. Number one, it has handles. Number two, it's easier to take apart and put together. Number three, it has its own built-in kickstands, which makes it really easy to set up too. Number four, it has a pouch which I can put the extra long solar cable into, but it also comes with kind of a nice extension coming out of here. And the other cool part is it has a USB hub on it. So you have a USB-C and 2 USB-A ports, and you can just charge your devices straight off of the solar panel, which is pretty cool as well. So I've had this system for a few weeks now, and I've been charging my laptops, my phone, my cameras, drone, whatever I have, pretty much been charging it on here, and then powering the system back up using the solar panel from Renogy. So let's take a look at the general setup and performance of this system. All right, so first time plugging in the Renogy panel here, and you can see it is covered by some shade on the first and fourth panels. One thing that's always important to test is, can I still get power if it's partially covered by shade? So we're gonna find that out right now. I don't have my longer cable here yet, so this has to sit right next to the window for me to be able to really use it, but let's take a look and see what we get. So we are getting 47 watts of input right now, even though 2 of the panels are covered. That's good news. That means we're still gonna be able to get power even if there's a little bit of shade on the panels, and obviously something you definitely want to have in a solar panel. Moth, come on. So setup wise in these panels, what's cool is you've got this little pocket back here, and that is where you're able to keep your cable that comes with it and any other cables. Beyond that, there's also some USB plugs on here. So this part's nice because you can actually then seal this off. If it's raining, you shouldn't have any issues with any of your electronics getting wet, which is great. I really like these handles so far. This makes it so much easier to set up. So right now I'm kind of running the panels upside down just to try to keep the cord a little bit closer to the window. But these are really easy to set up. They're a little bit shorter than the EcoFlow panels. They're about the same weight, but they pull up to 200 watts versus 160 for the EcoFlow. So that's pretty great, but I love those handles so far. This was way easier to set up. And if I do need to turn it over, the fact that the stands are built in, I think is gonna be great too, but we'll try that in the future. So we'll see what we can pull here the next couple hours and see how things go as the sun kind of moves throughout the day. All right, so checking in a little bit later in the morning. Shadows now across 2 panels over here. These 2 are pretty much in the sun. Sun's coming in a little bit better angle, but what are we pulling inside? All right, let's take a look, and we're up to 70 watts now. And I've also started charging one of my laptops, so that's outputting 60 watts, and so we're only kind of netting 10 or 11. And I love doing this, by the way, during the day, charging my laptops and my devices off the sun and charging the battery so that the battery's completely full. I can use it for a couple of days, but all my devices get charged off the sun at the same time. I don't know why this feels so good to me, but it definitely does. All right, so I made a quick change. We were getting a lot of shade from this overhang here, and it was actually covering 3 of the panels. So I just moved the panel a little bit, and this also stands up much better than the EcoFlow panel, which I'm pretty impressed with. So now I'm just getting shade over 1 panel. The other 3 panels are getting sun, and we'll see what that's producing. With 3 panels clear and getting sun, we're getting 123 watts at about 10 o'clock in the morning. We're at the end of May here in Colorado. We're still charging 4 watts here for a phone. In about an hour, this thing's gonna be back to full, which is great. I was able to charge up the computer completely, and I'm also charging my phone, and we'll just keep checking in with this and see where it ends up. All right, so it has clouded up a little bit. When the clouds are kind of thick, we're pulling about 40 to 50 watts, and then when the cloud cover goes away, we spike back up to well over 100. All right, now we're trying the stands out a little bit here. Everything's in full sun. And within full sun, we're pulling about 153 watts, which is charging quite a bit faster. Now we're almost done in a half an hour, which is great. So overall, pretty impressive. With the EcoFlow system, I'd normally be pulling about 123 watts, something like that, 120, so it's about 30 watts better, which isn't bad, and it's easier to set up by far. That's the overview of the AC60 and B80 system that we're gonna be running in our vehicle. Again, it was really important to us that we had an IP rated system that we can leave in the back of the truck, whether it's open or enclosed. I've had no issues with overheating. It's a quiet system. We even used a heating pad with the AC60 in our tent, and that worked really well. It didn't use very much power at all, and we didn't really need to leave it on all night anyway because it wasn't super cold, but it did work. We have an overland build that is truck-based, and it's gonna be open in the back, and you don't wanna put a big red arc system in or anything like that. I would definitely recommend the AC60 and B80. You can also look at the AC240 if you want something a little bit bigger. This is probably more than enough power than we're gonna need for any of our trips, even if we go for multiple weeks, because we can recharge with the solar panel and because we can recharge while we're moving. So some people might want one massive battery, and there's nothing wrong with that. The advantage of this system is it allows me to take this battery and put it somewhere else and put it to use for, say, like our shower or in the cab of the pickup or in a different location where I can power other things or charge other stuff and still keep my refrigerator charged at all times, which is nice. When I hook the two systems together, it's still only 1200 watts. With the 200 watt solar panel, if I pull say 180 watts, something like that, I'm gonna be able to charge things up in like 5 or 6 hours pretty easy, no problem whatsoever. The other thing that's cool about these batteries, if they were completely empty, this would take 8 hours to charge and this would take 4 hours to charge. And that's actually an advantage over a bigger battery, because if it was a 1200 watt battery, I would actually have to charge it for a full 12 hours off of a cigarette lighter, or I'd have to put in some sort of a different system to be able to charge more quickly. And a lot of people do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe one day I'll do it. But the cool part is, because this is charging in the front and this is charging in the back of the truck, this charges in 4 hours. This would charge then in 8 at the very worst. That's not too bad. So I'm actually saving 4 hours of charging time and not having to do any modifications to the truck at the same time. Just something to think about if you're looking for a battery system, because this is a lot more power than people would consider. Then when you get to your campsite, if you have sun even at all, or even the clouds, you can plug this in. You're gonna be powering all the devices at your campsite without a problem, and therefore not drawing down your battery until night. And then at night is really the only time you're gonna use power, or if it's raining all day or something like that. But even then, this system would get my refrigerator through at least 24 hours before I'd have to charge it in some way, shape, or form. So for me personally, I think that's plenty, and I'm not too worried about it. So the next question is, would I recommend the system? I would definitely recommend it to anybody. If you're gonna use it for camping and overlanding, having the IP rating no matter what is nice. Now, that being said, I think the EcoFlow system, if you have an SUV or something where you can keep it enclosed all the time, is completely fine too. And it's gonna be cheaper because it's not IP rated. You're not gonna be keeping this out in the elements, or it's not gonna be sitting in a truck bed and it's gonna be covered most of the time, or you can keep it covered kind of no matter what. You can save some money on a similarly sized system, or get a bigger system for the same price or even less, and that's okay too. If anybody asks me what battery system I should buy, I would still recommend EcoFlow, and I would recommend Bluetti. Both of them are great. I think there are some other great companies out there too, but since I've used both of these, I can easily recommend either one of them. So the next question is, what questions do you have about the system that I can answer for you? Please leave those questions in the comments. Also, let me know what system you run and what you like and don't like about it in the comments too. So I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, live your life in beta, and we'll see you next time.